Good evening, everyone. We're going to start the May 5th, 2025 annual budget meeting of the Fairfield RTM. Will the clerk take the roll?
Ken Astorita, Peter Britton, Melissa Longo, Brooks Baracino, Tara Cook-Littman, Megan McCloat, Dave Rock, Chris Shea, Bob Elwanger,
Here.
Mike Hardigan, Jeff Steele, Cindy Waldron, Laura Carson, Michelle McCabe, Marcy Spallier, Liz Esma, Josh Garskoff, Kristen O'Neill, Sharon Pastilli, Jay Wolk, Rob Blanchard, Nancy Donnie, Eric Druniak, Alex Ocampo.
Here.
Thank you. Steve Barretts, Lori Galdenzi, John Kuhn, Scott Nickel, Lenny Brayman, Chris Carroll, Colin Colburn, Christine Ludwizak.
Here.
Drew Georgiadis, Lisa Havey, Mark McDermott, Karen Wackerman,
Here.
Matt Ambrose, Justin Contrato,
Here.
Margaret Horton, Pierre Ratsky.
Thank you. Let's all stand for the pledge. Thank you. Item number 2, to consider and act upon self-supporting funds in the amount of $11,940,775 for the Water Pollution Control Authority for the fiscal year of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. Do I have a motion to approve? Approved by Representative Horton, seconded by Representative Rock. Is there any discussion on this item? Members online, just put it in the chat. Seeing none from the body, is there any public comment on this item? Any public who would like to speak? Just put your name in the chat. Seeing none from the public, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? That motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 3, to consider and act upon self-supporting funds in the amount of $4,116,045 for the Fairfield County Regional Dispatch FCRD for the fiscal year of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. Do I have a motion to approve? Representative McDermott, seconded by Representative Wolk. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none from the body, is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none from the public, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 4, to consider and act upon self-supporting funds in the amount of $467,330 for the Regional Fire Training School for the fiscal year of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. Do I have a motion to approve? Approved by Representative Carroll, seconded by Representative Wolk. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none from the body, is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 5. To consider and act upon proposed appropriations in the amount of $383,922,025 for the fiscal year of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026, as recommended by the Board of Finance for any lawful purpose. The total proposed budget as approved by the Board of Finance is as follows. Board of Finance recommended budget of $383,922,025 $922,025 less non-current tax year revenue of $44,730,147. Net revenue to be raised by current year taxation, $339,191,878, plus senior tax relief of $3,500,000, plus the assessment of appeals, open court log of $400,000, plus reserve for uncollected taxes, other credits of $3,350,000, gross amount to be raised by taxation, $346,441,878. Do I have a motion to approve? Representative Waldron, seconded by Representative O'Neill. Is there any discussion on this item? Representative Steele.
Jeff Steele, District 3. I have a motion I'm going to make, but I have a question before that. And thank you, Mr. Becker, for answering some questions earlier on the parking authority. This has to do with the parking authority part of the budget. For this to be formed as a department, is anything yet to happen in terms of this coming before the Board of Selectmen? And the board and the RTM for approval of a new department, parking authority department. What is the process next for forming the department? Because then I have a.
I think we've already gone through that many meetings.
Yeah, can we just repeat that, please?
The process has already occurred. It's already within the town. So if it's a relation to the budget, go ahead and ask a budget-related question.
So just so I understand, then the RTM will not be approving the formation of the parking authority department, right?
That's not at this meeting. This meeting is about the budget, which there is a budget page that was also included in the backup. The Board of Finance added and switched everything in there as well.
Yeah, this motion I'm going to make has to do with the parking authority, but I just wanted to make sure it's actually how it becomes a department and what the process is. And maybe that's through you to Attorney Pierce, just if the formation of the department of the parking authority will go to the RTM for approval. Just a yes or no.
So if I understand the question, the department is created within the budget that is before the RTM currently and was approved by the Board of Finance. So that's the process by which that department is created.
So you're saying it has nothing to do with the charter under Article 6, Section G.
So
Reorganization of departments.
It's not a reorganization under Section 6.1 G of the charter.
Okay, just wanted to ask. So my motion is, this is a little one. I noticed there's a line item 51170, Secretarial Services Minutes. And I guess we don't have a parking commission anymore, so we don't need secretarial services to take minutes. So I'm going to make a motion to cut $1,200, which is line item 51170, Secretarial Services, because there is nothing to take minutes for because there's no parking commission.
Do I have a second? Representative Colburn. Any discussion on this motion to cut? Representative Pistilli.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Through you to First Selectman Gerber.
Go ahead and ask your question and then you can stand up.
So if we, if there's a formation of a parking authority advisory board, will we be taking minutes at those meetings and therefore still pretty much need the equivalent infrastructure that we had with the parking commission?
Yes, that would be the intention.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on this amendment from the body? Again, it's a a motion to cut secretarial services in line item 51170 minutes for $1,200. Any other comments from the body? Seeing none, any public comment on this motion on the table? Seeing none, we'll take it to a vote. I'm going to have our clerk do a roll call.
Ken Estorita. Peter Britton. Melissa Longo. Brooks Barachino. Megan McClout. Dave Rock. Chris Shea. Bob Elwinger.
No.
Mike Hardigan. Jeff Steele. Cindy Waldron. Laura Carson. Michelle McCabe. Marcy Spalier. Liz Esma. Josh Garskoff. Kristen O'Neill. Sharon Pistilli. Jay Walk. Rob Blanchard. Nancy Donnie.
No.
Eric Juniak. Alex Ocampo.
No.
Steve Barretts. Lori Gildenzi. John Kuhn. Scott Nickel. Lenny Brayman. Chris Carroll. Colin Colburn. Christine Ludwizak.
Yes.
Lisa Havey. Mark McDermott. Karen Wackerman.
No.
Justin Contrado.
No.
Margaret Horton. Pierre Ratsky. Motion fails, 10 in favor, 27 opposed.
Thank you. Any other comments from the body on the budget item 5? Representative Brayman.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Lenny Brayman, District 8. I'm voting in favor of the budget as it is. We obviously have various constraints that I believe this budget that's before us successfully navigates. Not only aren't we getting ARPA funds now, but we will have federal funds that are drying up. That in turn puts pressure on state funding, on local governments like ours, and on the nonprofits with which we partner. We've had modest grant list growth, and the budget before us, I believe, strikes the right balance between minimizing the burden on taxpayers and funding town services. There's a reasonable increase in spending with a modest increase in the mill rate. So I'm voting in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the body? Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Kristen O'Neill, District 5. I will also be supporting the budget tonight. I think many of us have understandably heard from our constituents with concerns about funding for education. And after listening to the Board of Education, the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Finance, I think we have come up with a good balance between funding the programs in all of our public schools while also not putting an undue burden on the taxpayers. I think this budget is putting us on the right path with improving our per pupil expenditure, as well as compensating our teachers fairly and putting us in a more competitive place with our surrounding districts. I think this budget puts us on a strong path for continuing our great public schools in Fairfield, and I hope it's one we continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Representative Zezima.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and good evening. Liz Ezma, District 4. This was a difficult budget to navigate. Not a single department received all the funding they requested. Some of the headwinds that we faced included very modest grand list growth and a much larger than expected increase in education spending. Despite those challenges, the mill rate increase is below the rate of inflation for the second year in a row. Thank you to our first selectmen and our majorities on the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance, as well as the finance team who all worked hard to produce a budget that reflects our values, a vision for the future, and our commitment to taxpayers. We've managed to fund essential services such as public safety, police and fire, and invest in our call center. There are also some long overdue infrastructure investments that are being made. Our fiscal house has been put in much better order with smart reorganization already saving taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars with more savings projected. We identified areas of town government that needed to be made more efficient and more transparent, and in doing so, we shored up areas with insufficient fiscal controls, which are now finally being addressed. We have been steadfast supporters of our schools and the services that make our town so special, including the benefit of better capital planning and town planning that will put us on a path to sustainable growth and economic success. When under pressure to keep taxes reasonable for Fairfield taxpayers, we have not shied away from making tough decisions and putting fiscal protections in place. We will also be navigating deep cuts at the federal level and will implement strategies to address the effect on our local budget. These measures will be paying big dividends to our community as we keep Fairfield an affordable place to live, raise a family, and run a business. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Representative Ludwigsak online.
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. Christine Ludwigzak, District 8. I have a question regarding the budget page 110 line item 42209 regarding the automated enforcement speed cameras. If the revenue projected, the $875,000 doesn't come in, where will the funding come from, or where will cuts be made? I think my main concern around this figure is our Stanford had passed their ordinance back in April of 2024, and unfortunately, they still have no cameras in place a year and change later. So wondering if we kind of follow a similar timeline and we don't have the revenue that we're anticipating, where other cuts would need to be made, or how would the budget be adjusted, since that's a pretty significant dollar amount to be allocated for the revenue.
Thank you, Representative Ludwigsak. I'm going to have someone from the administration come answer your question. I just want to remind members, though, that we can't change revenue items in our budget. It's not under our power of this body to address revenue items, but I can have someone address that revenue item because it does reflect the budget. First Selectman Gerber.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. It's a very good question. I really can't give you an answer right now. If that comes to pass, we'll have to get everyone in a room and figure out what to do. It's kind of, we could say that about almost every line item. For the expense line items, what if they come in greater? For the revenue items, what if they come in less? So I think it's just a matter of seeing how it unfolds and then reacting quickly and trying to find either revenue or cuts to expenses. But I definitely think it's a distinct possibility that it could happen. It's not a crazy question, but we'll just have to do our best, as we will with the rest of the budget, to try to meet our goals.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the body? Representative Hardigan.
Hey, Mike Hardigan, District 3. So around this time last year, I asked Superintendent Testani if I thought he had requested enough of an increase on the budget. And I said that people live in Fairfield for the schools and that people move to Fairfield for the schools. And I feel heard. I very much appreciate the spirit and the intent of how Superintendent Testani came out this year. I also very much want to thank the First Selectman, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance for making that budget as much of an actuality as possible. That being said, I thought there was a great discussion at our last meeting regarding a 3 to 5 year plan for the school budget. And I'm really hoping we can take that same spirit into a plan like that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the body? Representative Pistilli.
Sharon Pistilli, District 5. I would like to thank First Selectman Gerber, Superintendent Testani, the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Ed, the Board of Finance for their careful analysis of this budget. And we've been following along with the process until it, reached us. And there's been tons of thoughtful analysis that's gone into it. It was a particularly difficult year of shared sacrifice for the common good of the people of our town. The budget process of our schools was difficult. The increase in the education budget was driven mostly by contractual wage increases for competitive compensation for educators, which is critical for their talent retention. There are also large increases in transportation and healthcare benefits that should have gone out to bid. It's possible to go out to bid for healthcare and have unions agree to a plan that would be an equivalent benefit level and lower costs. So I'm hoping that next year, if we experience these kinds of increases, that we do go out to bid for these big ticket items. The town budget was also very lean with strategic initiatives such as capital projects group that allow us to be smart about capital improvement planning. And then another strategic initiative, which is a 9/11 regional dispatch center to fund the staffing of the dispatch center appropriately will then allow us to bring more towns online, which will allow us to charge more fees, which will directly impact the town's bottom line in a positive way. I don't think that anybody received exactly what they were asking for in this budget. It truly was one of shared sacrifice. I do see all of the hard work that went into it and wanted to thank everyone that was involved. And I do plan on supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Colburn.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Colin Colburn, District 8. When I look at the budget from the top line, I really don't have much to say that's not satisfactory. I think it makes sense from the top line. Through our budget hearings, though, there were a couple of things that raised a lot of concerns to me. One, when we were going through the budgeting, there was a lot of errors that seemed to occur in the executive summaries, kind of just sloppy mistakes. The second thing to me is, I think Representative Hardigan brought up the point. The long-term planning for the Board of Education is desperately needed. And I have a lot of concerns as it relates to how we are thinking about enrollment going forward, because that is going to dictate a lot of the costs that come from the Board of Education. And all I see are potential huge increases that we are kicking the can down the road on. And then the third item, I think, is the biggest one for this current year's budget, which is that we have real revenue risk in this budget. $1 million is nothing to shake your head at. And that's what we're looking at with the speed cameras, because I don't think that revenue is going to be coming in this fiscal year. So I actually would request that we get quarterly updates on that if we're able to, because it would be good to know if we're making any progress of getting cameras online. I don't think that's a huge request to make. But that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the members of the body? Representative Blanchard.
Thank you, Moderator Rob Blanchard, District 6. I first want to thank everyone who came out and emailed us about the budget. It was refreshing, even if we weren't always aligned, to see so many people engaged in the budget, parents, teachers, students asking us to make investments in education or other services. It is refreshing to see the public engaged in that process rather than us passing a budget in an empty council chamber here. What I also want to talk about is I agree with some of the other comments, is that we are facing sort of an unpredictable revenue time that is kind of reminiscent of 2017 with both state and federal revenue. And I think it's important that the Board of Education start to look more forward thinking. I think it's great that we gave our teachers a raise to make it more competitive and attractive, because education is a huge driver for both families and businesses to our town. But we need to be more long-term thinking about how we fund those projects and our education as a whole. We've got a 2-year term for the RTM, a 4-year term for the Board of Ed, 6-year for Board of Finance, and a 4-year for the First Selectman. There's no reason we should be planning in 1-year increments when we know what enrollment essentially is going to be, as we've seen some of the data over 4 or 5 years. But as much as we've heard that this was a difficult budget, I think we should be proud that we've been able to maintain and make more investments in things like education, as well as some other town services. It is difficult, and towns are having a harder time finding revenue without making towns and taxes more unaffordable. And this does strike the right balance between making us, again, an attractive place for education, quality of life for a lot of families, seniors who we hope will retire here, or people who will start their businesses here. So this is a great budget, and I hope that next year we're taking into account more of what's happening, even though it may be out of our control in Washington and Hartford, and being more proactive and strategic about revenue and services and programs. So I will be supporting the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the body? Are there any comments from the body online that we missed? I'm going to open it up to public comment. Each member of the public will have 2 minutes to speak. First, here in the audience, if you want to come up to the podium, you can state your name, your address, and our deputy moderator will time you for 2 minutes. Are there any comments from the public? Nobody. How about online? Any comments from, if anyone wants to be recognized, just put their name in the. No one online. Okay, we'll back to the body. Last chance for the body to vote on this item. Representative Longo.
Melissa Longo, District 1. I've had this question and I just needed to ask, because I've been getting actually a lot of emails myself, just in conversations with people in my neighborhood. Why does our COO need a town car that we pulled resources from 4 other places? I'm just really curious about that, because I don't remember any other COO having one. So I'm just curious how that all went about and why that's necessary. Thank you.
Do you know what line item that is, Representative Longo? You don't. Okay, so you're not planning on cutting that up. Okay, well, we can answer that. Does someone from the administration want to come answer that?
Well, we've never had a COO before, so we had a CAO, but our COO has a car, not in the COO role, but as he's Director of Emergency Management for the town. And the Director of Emergency Management has always had a car. So I think, Mr. Becker is going out during floods, during bad weather, during fires. It's just a standard thing. And I think, if you'd like to look around the state and see what other emergency managers have. I believe most of them would have cars. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments from the body? Seeing none, we're gonna take it to a vote. I'm gonna start with just all in general, and we might change. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna go back to a roll call vote.
Ken Estorita, Peter Britton, Melissa Longo, Brooks Barachino, Megan McClute, Dave Rock, Chris Shea, Bob Ellinger,
Aye.
Mike Hardigan, Jeff Steele, Cindy Waldron, Laura Carson, Michelle McCabe, Marcy Spalier, Liz Esma, Josh Garskoff, Kristen O'Neill, Sharon Pistilli, Jay Wolk, Rob Blanchard, Nancy Donnie,
Yay.
Eric Juniak, Alex Ocampo,
Yay.
Steve Barretts, Lori Galdenzi, John Kuhn, Scott Nickel, Lenny Brayman, Chris Carroll, Colin Colburn, Christine Ludwizak,
No.
Lisa Havey, Mark McDermott, Karen Wackerman,
Yes.
Justin Contrado,
Yes.
Margaret Horton, Pierre Ratsky. Budget passes 28 in favor, 9 opposed.
Thank you. Moving on to item 7, to consider and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the tax collector. Resolved that upon approval of the town budget for the fiscal year July 1st, thank you, Representative McCabe. Do we have a second to waive the reading? Representative Waldron. All those in favor of waiving the reading, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I appreciate that. We're going back to how the budget should, how the taxes should be paid. Are there any comments on this item? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, we'll take item number 7 to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 8, to consider and act upon any other matters presented to said meeting at which may be properly acted upon under the rules of the representative town meeting. I feel like I forgot something. Are there any other matters to be considered? Before we adjourn, I just want to thank all the members of this body, all members of the Board of Education, Board of Selectmen, and Board of Finance, all town employees, volunteers, and especially the public. The budget process is a collaborative one and wouldn't be possible without the input of all mentioned above. The last step in this process is this Thursday, May 8th, where the Board of Finance will vote on the mill rate. I will now take a motion to adjourn. Representative Wolk, seconded by Representative Nichols. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.